Alright, so let's do some prep work again. In this one we already had these render nodes. I guess we could color code them. Boop. Let's grab our materials from our other scene. We also need to grab the caramel because we are gonna load some caramel in here later for the for this shot. You can see there's a little bit of caramel there. Paste that. Let's grab our lights. Oh. Grab our lights. Boop. Grab our ropes. Boop. Alright, good to go. Should be pretty straightforward. Let's add our materials. Cookie. Boop. Let's add it on this one. Boop. Oh, not caramel. Cookie. Boop. Let's add our instance. Needs to have it on the debris piece because it's gonna instance that thing with the material. Boop. Let's enable this displacement on all these things. Let me check what the size of the displacement was again for the cookie. 0.33. All right. So let's go here. Translation. Probably need to change these things a little bit when we start rendering, but no, this one probably a little bit lower. All right. So we have the out node here. Let's call this. Oh, shot 0, 10. I'm going to have a second one for the close-up, which would be 15. So in this one, let's reference our shot 10 camera. And in this one, let's reference our shot. Oh, where is it? Shot 15 camera. And in this one, let's go to RNDR underscore shot 15 underscore star. And the other one should be all right. Yeah, let's do the IPR thing. So let's do the render view. Let's go 0, 10. It's gonna complain for the aces thing again. So 709. CIO. Right. So this actually already looks pretty decent. There's gonna be some things that we probably need to change. Probably displacement amount could be higher here. But let's first go ahead in our timeline a little bit, because that's probably where I expect the most issues to be. So you can see it's not really properly lining out here. So we get these weird edge things. So probably what we need to do in that case is go to our node. Shot 10 cookie. Oh, by the way, I see that we didn't even enable tessellations. So let's enable tessellation. Oh, and this already seems to have fixed a lot of the issues. So let's increase the displacement a little bit, because I think we should have some additional detail here. Okay, that's too much because you see it's overextending there. So let's do 4. Because that's with like these edges, if they're sort of going to be pushing in each other, it's going to look weird. Or this might also, let me put it back to 3. These might be some interior pieces and are not properly connecting. So let me just double check that. So if I go into our cookie, where we assemble it, let's connect inside the edges. Let's see if that fixes anything. Yeah, you can see that fixed it. So you can see this will now cause this additional error here where this is looking weird. So let me just do another screenshot and just show you the difference. So if I disable that again, render again. So what's happening here is that we have a fractured object here, and these are essentially the base part and the interior part are not connected properly. So that's why we're getting this weird stuff here. If I enable connect inside edges and press render again, then we don't have that issue. So we do have some stuff there. So I think what we can do to fix that is to change some of our thing here. Let's turn off smooth subdivision. I think that might already make a difference. I'm not sure, but okay. So what I think for this shot is I'm gonna keep the where is it? Just gonna keep the connect inside edges on, and we could already turn it off for the close, because let's just check the close shot. Because remember, we have two shots here. So that, oh, that's the shot 15 cookie. So let's turn tessellation on for that as well. Let's turn displacement on. And let's just see what it looks like in that shot. Oh, that's way too much displacement. So let's put it to 2.3. I think this will actually be fine with the displays, with the depth of field and stuff on it later. All right, so let's change some of the lighting for this. So let's go back, I guess, to shot 15. Let's turn off this thing. We do want some shadow stuff there in the bottom. And this thing here in the top looks a little bit weird. So that's because, yeah, something was penetrating it there. So let's, I guess we can turn this one off. So that's the one in the bottom there. Let's put it to much lower maybe. Maybe it's nice to have a little bit of light. Always going back and forth to make sure that this thing isn't bugging again. All right, so I guess where's the key? I guess we can, oh, maybe we can, yeah, remove that one. Increase, so call this rim light, the key lights. Let's increase the intensity. Something like that. Let's see what this looks like if we look through the to the cam here. Let's lock the camera also this time. So let's check another frame. I think that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it's rendering my instances for some reason. So let me just select my, oh, that's because it's not called RNDR10. So that makes sense. So let's put RNDR10 instance there. Let's reload. So hopefully it will also grab my instances. Yeah, you can see my instances are there. All right. So this all seems to work quite okay. One thing I do want to test is let's see if we don't have any weird floating noise, like I mentioned before. That's why we did the reference position. So just to check that, let's make another ROP. Let's call it test. Let's not output anything. So let's enable image output. Let's disable that. You know what? Let's make let's just do that. Let's go to sampling override. Let's turn off all of our sampling overrides. We just want a fast render. 4 and 16. Global illumination. Let's turn all of that back. And let's just render a couple frames here just to end play. So that's maybe 10 to 30. To 35 maybe. Let's try our test ROP. Let's also put this to, let's turn off this thing. Let's put it to half resolution. Alright, so you see it's complaining here, instance piece uses adaptive tessellation. That's because adaptive tessellation doesn't work when you're instancing. So we can put the debris piece and we can turn off, where is it? Screen space adaptive. And I think we also need to turn off. Let's see, edge length can put to 0, I think. Always forget the exact settings for instance geo. But it also should disable by default, so I don't think it will matter that much. Okay, I'm just gonna put this back up. Right, so let's just render a couple frames, I guess, with our test thing. So render to end play, see if we don't have any floating noise. By the way, before we do that, let's also remove the AOVs here, because AOVs do slow down the render process. So let's now do our renders. So it should be a lot faster than with the AOVs. Right, so I'm gonna be back when this is finished rendering. Right, so it's still rendering. I'm gonna just press quit because you can see this looks fine. So I'm just gonna press interrupt. You can see the noise pattern is sticking correctly. So, like I mentioned, probably you want to change maybe some stuff in here. Like maybe we do want the displacement here to be a little bit higher. Just so it looks a little bit nicer. And also I'm thinking maybe I'm not completely happy with the lighting here, but let's just try it, by the way, also with the background, because we haven't really tried that yet. So it might even look terrible. Actually, it looks pretty decent. Alright, so let's just track, I guess, our shots. So let's check our samples. Right, so I think our subsurface scattering here needs a lot more samples. So let's go into that thing. Let's go to sampling overrides. Let's go into subsurface scattering. Let's put it to 512. Also, we're using path traced, what it's called, yeah, ray traced subsurface scattering, which is quite slow. Could also try point based. Will be a lot faster, but less accurate, but we can see if it looks good. You know what, actually I think this might look pretty good here. Let's just wait for some frames, right? Okay, I'm not sure. You know what, maybe this actually looks pretty good, and it's also a lot faster. Yeah, so let's just put it to point back. You can see it does look very different. The edges look a little different as well. I probably want some light down here because this just looks a little bit weird. Let's take, I guess, which light is that? Let's take that light. Let's put this to, let's turn off focus mode. Let's take this light that we have here. Let's move it down. Let's move it in a little bit. Yeah, so then we have some more light there. This probably looks nice. And also on our cookie here, let's go to mesh deformation motion blur, because we want motion blur. Probably need to reload for that to take effect. Let's just double check if our things have velocity. Yeah, they do. All right. So let's go ahead in our, all right, let's not on ahead. Let's check our second shot. So shot 15. Right, so we do see these edges here quite significantly, which I don't like. So probably need to resolve that for this specific shot. So let's just, maybe what we can do is go into cookie fracture. In my original, this was actually working without any issues, but let's just copy this entire thing. Let's on our assemble, let's turn off connect inside edges, and then on our 15 cookie, let's load this thing instead. And let's see what this looks like. So now I've turned off the connect inside edges for this shot, because I think this might work better for this shot. Let's just see. Alright, so for the close-up, I've turned off smooth subdivisions. And I've turned, by the way, I've changed the material here back to ray trace. And I think this is close enough for like the edges. We don't see any problem here with the edges. So I think it should be pretty good. So one more thing that we need to do here is load in our caramel as well. Already our caramel, because let's remember there is a little bit of caramel coming in here at the end. Let's do a file. Let's go to $root. Let's go to $root/3D, because we didn't publish this, but it was in a shot folder. So it was in shot 20. Geo caramel mesh. There we go. Right, so we have the caramel there. It's time shift. Let's say, do we want it to be minus 45 frames? And let's transform this thing to sort of offset it. Again, we should probably check this in the animatic. Probably maybe 33 frames. maybe, let me just check in the edit. So which frames are we using here? So we're using frame, control click to see this, frame 35 to frame, put our correct output here. So 35 to 72. So at frame 72, it should be well in view. So let's do -22. It's too much. All right, something like that. Maybe -30. And -29. Okay, let's just do 28. All right, let's do that one. Let's call it RNDR 15 caramel. Let's color code it green. Let's put this thing in. And let's just see what this looks like. Probably want to turn on tessellations as well for the caramel. Oh, we probably also need to do that for our previous shot, by the way. Just turn off bucket rendering. So let's go to this thing. Let's enable tessellation, just so it subdivides. And let's just check what this looks like with bucket rendering mode. That's looking pretty decent. So let's one more thing. Let's turn on mesh deformation blur, and let's just render out some frames. So let's just do current frame for. So let's do one frame for frame 15. So let's, I guess, render frame 15 for 10. Call this shot 10, because of course now we have two shots, so we need to label those correctly. Shot 15. Let's render this frame. And why is it erroring? Oh yeah, it's the adaptive tessellation thing again. So let's turn all of this to 0. So let's render one frame. Right, so just gonna render this as a frame and then also the other one. And again, we can check this with 709. Yeah, so I'm just gonna wait for this frame to render, and then I'm gonna render the other frame, and then we can move on to the next shot. One thing, by the way, that I forgot to do in this scene, also in the previous scene, by the way, so you might want to change that, is of course we need to change our puzzle math, because we haven't set our object IDs. So let's just do that. So I guess let's make the caramel. I don't remember which one we have. Caramel. Let's make cookie 1, cookie 1, caramel 2. This is going to be cookie, so it's going to be 1. This is going to be 1. Right, so almost forgot. So this is almost finished rendering. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's continue to the next shot. So yeah, we have these done, we have this one done, we have this one done. So let's just do this one. And yeah, then only this is remaining, and then we have all of everything, well, everything set up, and then we can do the renders, then we can composite, and then, well, then we're almost done.